do you use, what's the lowest frequency you would use a transient shaper for? Have you used, like, I've never even actually really thought about this before.
I don't do frequency specific transient shaping because it's too phasey. So if I'm going to use a transient shaper, I'm committing to using it on everything of that sound.
Okay, interesting. So even though Neutron does multi-band transient shaping,
they haven't sorted it out yet.
It still sounds too phasey to you.
Yeah, and I'll use it in dire circumstances, say maybe on a live bass when it's in accompaniment to another sub bass, like a Moog or an 808, where it's not as important to get that low end from the live bass. I've used it in that circumstance. But if it's the only bass in the song, I won't transient shape upper frequencies and put a crossover point. Not yet. No one's nailed it yet.
Well, this is an interesting overall point.
But sorry, one thing before you do that. But I will put a transient shaper on those sounds if I think the overall affect is positive from putting it on.
So you use your ears is what you're saying.
Yeah. Sorry, continue on your thought.
No, just that anytime you're splitting a signal, whether it's within a plugin that has a crossover point or you're just going to give up phase, you're going to give up clarity. Things are going to be out of phase slightly. Things are going to shift. So it's really important. This is, again, getting back to trying to find the simplest way to do it without compromising phase is almost always, it's always the thing you want to do. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes there's, like you said, if you have a bass, like a bass guitar and a sub thing, and the sub is carrying all the low end, you can be a little more creative with doing some band specific stuff because you're not worried about the low end of it because it's already taken care of by the sub. But by and large, if you can avoid splitting a signal, you're better off. Also, just to add to that, the bigger the frequencies we're talking about, the lower the frequencies, the more audible the phase relationship is going to be when it's messed up. Yeah, and the
more impactful it's going to be.
The thing you talked about, I think it was last week, maybe it was the week before, you talked about the video of there's a series of demos of the FabFilter Pro Q2 where they talk about linear phase mode. Everybody should go watch. Just go YouTube linear phase.
I got a bunch of DMs saying
Pro Q2.
What's been seen cannot be unseen.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it's important to understand when linear phase is useful, but for most people in most circumstances,
never.
It's not. It's only when you're using never. Like multiple mics on something or thing, it's almost never. Everybody should go look at that shit. God, I like learning. I like that everybody else is learning on here, but I'm learning on here too.